And so we are now live. And so for you who are tuning in for the first time, this is called Cocktails and Courageous Conversations. This came out of me actually going to conferences, and I noticed that at the bar we have these conversations that may be a little different from the very academic presentations that we do. And so I just love hanging out in the bar, having cocktails, mocktails, coffee, tea, hanging out with people who I love and admire. And so this was born from that. So my invitation is that to have people I love and admire come in here. We have a cocktail together. Tiffany is having a water cocktail, and I'm having actually I wanted this to look like tea so that I look like a very like sophisticated person. Actually, this is Pepsi. We needed a little Pepsi. And then sometimes we will have an actual cocktail depending on what hour of day. But so this is an informal chat between two colleagues, two friends. And again, Tiffany is somebody I really admire and appreciate. And so Tiffany, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and the incredible work that you do for people who are transitioning onto their co-parenting journey?
So I'm a clinical psychologist and a co-parenting coach, and absolutely steadfast about people living unhealthy relationships in healthy ways and supporting them to transition to a two-home family so that children can thrive and grow up in secure connection with both parents.
I love that. And the thing I was saying before I got distracted was that I am on that journey as well. It's, again, this is not about me, but I just wanted to say that one of the things that I realize now that I got to know you is how much I could have used or needed somebody like you and your compassionate perspective and your very wise work around this co-parenting journey. When I split up with my ex-husband, the father of my children, there were a few years where we didn't speak at all, and now we are really co-parenting together. He has a key for our house. I have a key for his house. We live like 100 meters away from each other. We go on holidays. When every summer I go see my parents with my partner, my children. My ex is there, his partner's there. So we are like, there's always six of us, like four parents and two children, like going together as a group. And it has taken so much work on his part and my part and our partner's parts to get where we are. And so I just wanted to say that, like, I know that it's possible, and my dear, I wish I'd had somebody like you guide us in this so that I could have avoided many of the mistakes that I saw ourselves doing. And speaking of that, what are some of so we have a few questions that people have sent in to us because last time we weren't able to interact because IT, because technique. And now we are both with picture and audio. Let's celebrate that. I did have a few questions, but I wanted to ask, what are some of the usual struggles that you see parents having when transitioning onto this journey? What are some of the typical struggles?
Look, a lot of it is about two people who really want what is best for their kids, but just not seeing eye to eye about what that is, and then trying to figure that out in a context of hurt, pain, anger, betrayal, grief, guilt. People put so much pressure on themselves about what it means to separate, and so then trying to figure out how to come together for the best interests of the kids and how to navigate those conversations when there's so much hurt present is really, really tricky. And then I think the next part in that is that the lens through which you kind of look at your dynamic with your co-parent is really quite different from when you're looking at your romantic partner. But it's the same person, and you're making that transition sometimes, pretty much overnight, or in a drawn out way that's just full of pain and hurt. And so knowing, like, what is still your right to talk about or have an opinion on, and when to speak and when not to, when to step in, when to step back, all of that is incredibly difficult. And then when we have our children in the mix, these are our most valued, precious humans, and the idea of not having them with you 7 nights of the week is just so filled with grief and hardship for so many parents. I really love your story, Rikke, because I think all the parts of it. I love the inspiration that it is for people now to be able to see, like, okay, this is actually possible. Look, this is somebody who is living it. But also the part where you've kept it real. It's not like it was some magic where, you know, you and your co-parent were just like, oh, well, we're not married anymore and we get along fine, let's go off on holidays. There's the part where it was work to get there. And I think that's so important for people who are in the messiness of the early stages to know that it is exactly that. It's a messy middle. This is not the end of the story yet, and that there's a pathway through, and anything that we can do to shortcut that, to support that resource, that put some fuel in the tank for that journey, that's definitely what I really care to be about.
And what I think was really touched that was so important for me to hear you say the last time I spoke to you, and then just like, please go back and listen to part 1 of this, because there are so many golden nuggets and wisdom from Tiffany. And so one of the things that I found you that you said that is so important is that this is not a couples therapy. This is not like we split up and then we meet again for some kind of co-parenting therapy. This is a journey that you can take alone. Like, you can choose to go on this, like, regardless of your partner or ex-partners, or regardless of your co-parents' choice to join you on this journey. You can choose to be the parent that you want to be, the co-parent that you want to be, and work on yourself regardless of your co-parent's choice on this. And I think this is so important, because I think many of us practitioners may fear that we need both parents on board before we can do this. No, these are individual and sometimes parallel journeys, right? But you can do this as a co-parent without your co-parent doing it with you. Does that make sense?
You know, and I absolutely, I think that is a barrier for so many people, that idea that, yes, if my co-parent's not coming to the table, then there's nothing that we can do. And I think, my gosh, you do not want to give up all of your power to somebody who's not behaving in a helpful way for you. Like, my goodness, your life is too short and too valuable, and so are your kids, to do that. So yes, certainly there's so much that can be done, even if the other parent is never interested in coming back to the table.
Exactly. One of the things that is, I think, one of the is very moving for me, and it's very emotional for me. But one of the things that on my co-parenting journey is that, for a variety of reasons, my ex-husband, or my the father of my children, he didn't think that he didn't want a relationship with me for a few years. Like, he needed to step away from that completely, and he had all of his reasons for that. And for me, it was different. I have a very close relationship with my exes. And so I am, like, my very first boyfriend. I am now the godmother. I'm the godfather. I'm the godmother of one of his children, and I was his best woman at his wedding. So I have a history of being very close to people I have been close with, and so for me it was important. Well, I was hoping that I could have the same relationship with my ex-husband. Anyway, for a few years he did not feel the same way. He needed to step away from that. And the thing that I've spoken about a lot in a very, every time I get the chance, and I've spoken to my children about this, is that exactly what you said. You don't need somebody else. You don't have to wait for somebody else's permission to engage in a relationship, even if the other part is not engaging back. So every Christmas I would buy a gift. Every Father's Day I would buy a gift. Every I would keep sending gifts. Inviting him over, and he would not respond for a few years. And then I remember somebody said to me, why do you do that when he's not responding? He's not he's not even treating you well. And I was like, I'm not doing it for him. I am doing this for me. Like, I deserve to be this person, and I deserve, like, I am doing this for my children. I am showing them that you can feel hurt, you can feel all of those things, and you can still show up and act with kindness. And the cool thing about this, so it may sound like I'm Mother Teresa, which I am not. There were ugly parts in that as well, and I kept inviting. And the cool thing, what happened is that one day he took the invitation. I kept reaching out my hand and I kept inviting, and he took the invitation, and it took for him to choose to do that as well. And then there was a lot of work to get back together. But I think this is something that speaks to the power of committing to committing to something that is important, regardless of the outcome here and now, but keep doing something that is important for you, and not, I love what you said, like giving your power to somebody else. It was not reinforcing for me to have all of those gifts coming back. Yeah. And it was important to be the one, keep offering gifts and keep offering, you have a seat, you are welcome at my house, and you have a special place in my life and in my heart, and it's for you to take. And so it's, yeah, I hope I love
I like the breadcrumbs that are there to keep saying, like, I'm still here, the door is still open. And you know, the times, all of that, those experiences that he had to go, I can trust this. Like, this isn't some small thing that she's doing to try and win a competition. Like, this is, I can track this over time. She's still offering that space. I think, you know, the work, the recovery work that was done just by you showing up and being, you know, defining your behavior by who you wanted to be, and not by what you were getting coming back. Yeah.
And the choice from my ex-husband, like, there's like, so I think for me it was important to keep reaching out, and then it also takes for somebody else to take that to take on the invitation and actually show up. So it was, and that was the part that was really, really moving, especially for my children. They were like, they saw me reaching out, but when they saw their dad, like, you know, really taking in that invitation, and then trusting that, you know, I come in peace. I come from a place of kindness and compassion and love, and I really want you in my life, and I want us to co-parent together. For him to take on that invitation and step up, you know, he was literally at our door, and he was like, okay, let's do this. And there was not a lot, you know, we were sobbing. I think I scared him a little bit, because I was like, you're here, come in. But for the children to see their father at my house, first time it was a cup of coffee. Second time it was 1.5 cup of coffee. The third time it was, you know, and now we're literally spending holidays together and all of that. But for my children to see that as adults, we can disagree on many things, and we can be hurt, and we can have all of these feelings, and we're able to work together for them, and they see that. And I think it's one of the greatest gifts I've given my children, and my ex-husband has given my children and ourselves, is to be there for our children with love and kindness, even though we, like, behind the scenes not always agree. That's such a powerful thing, I think, such a moving experience for me and my children.
It really is, that sense of security in who they are in this world, and their connection back to their biology and their history across both sides. And that story of resilience of, you know, our family go through something so hard and come out strong.
And come out strong. And then also knowing that, and so this, I think, is so important for anybody who's struggling on this journey, and also practitioners working with people who are struggling, is that this is not like a straight, it's not like it's a one way and it goes from worse to amazing. It's like this, right? It's up and it's down, and it's back and it's forward, and it's like it can be very messy, and sometimes there may be glimpses of compassion and love, and you are like in the zone, and other times it's just not. And navigating that journey with all of the barriers that we run into, I think it's important. Yeah.
I think when you speak about that, one of the things that sits there for me is about how important that connection to the present moment is, and that part of showing up and going, well, this is, I just take this as happening right now and how I feel about it right now, and I'm not making assumptions whether this is a good thing or a bad thing that's in front of me as I experience it, that I'm not making assumptions about what this means about the pathway forward. So one of the things I often hear from co-parents when they get their first glimmer of success, they try a new approach and it goes well, they get a better response, they get an agreement or what have you, and one of the first things that understandably comes up is, but I can't trust this, how long's until everything falls back again? And I would say all we need to do is just go, it worked this time. So let's look at what helped get there this time and see what happens if we do that again, or if we tweak it, or if we check in with them about what made that easier this time, so we can just use it just as another data point. And then we don't have to have hope. We can just track behaviour and just see what happens over time.
Yeah, let's collect these little nuggets of data and learn from them, and ask ourselves what works right now, what worked this time. I love that. And what I really love is that you don't have to have hope for this to work. Actually, you don't have to have hope. You can just check in and you can be the person that you want to be, and you can track, did it work? Like in the way that it was intended to work? Like what was the consequence of what I did right now? We've had some, I want to honor the questions that we have. We have one from our very own Mette. Mette is a Danish name. One of my lovely students, who says, what do you do when parents think they have to protect the children against the other parent? Like the future self-image is, I'm the one who protected you from a violent parent. Ooh, what would your take be on this?
I think it is such an important question, and I want to just remind everyone who's watching this of one of the caveats that we put in place last time, which is around looking at when it's not an incredibly violent situation. So I would interpret this question as somebody who has that view of their future self, where if they were all in the bar with us, we would all be looking at it going, it's perhaps not as, the child is not in need of as much protection as you are feeling they are in this moment. Obviously, certainly in Australia at the moment, we have a huge problem with the rate of women being murdered by ex-partners. So that violence risk is very real and present, I think, for all women, and it's very loud in our news cycle at the moment. So again, this is in the context where we would think perhaps it's not as violent and scary to other people as it's feeling for the person who's been living it in that moment. So with that caveat, what I would look at is some really gentle exploration with that parent around looking at what is it that frightens them, what is the risk, what is scary, and what is the cost, what is the risk, what is scary if the child has no contact with the other parent. What happens then? Because that is sometimes, I mean, there are times when that really genuinely is the best for the children, if either this person is so dangerous and frightening, or there is just no way that the dynamic between the two can work in a safe way. But it's got to be your last choice, because the cost to the child is really, really high. They lose that connection with their sense of self, with half their biology. They have to make sense of it. What does it mean if this person is bad? What does that mean about me and who I am? So their sense of self can be really under threat. When I historically used to work with families who were in that very, very tricky dynamic and stuck in family court land trying to figure those things out, what we would often look at is what is the safest relationship that is possible with the parent, with the other parent. So it might be that looking at some kind of 50-50 shared care arrangement is never going to be suitable or safe. But it might be that parent can handle 24 hours, that they have enough distress tolerance skills to be able to regulate themselves with a child's behaviour for that amount of time. Or it might be that they can have a monthly milkshake together, or they might be able to be in written correspondence. There are many reasons why that's important, and one of them is about maintaining the healthiest relationship that is possible, so the child can get to know who this parent is, and understand themselves more broadly in that context of history. But for the parent who's truly frightened about what could happen over there, this is where it's really quite crucial. When children are completely estranged from a parent, we see a very typical thing happens, which is the child hits teen years. And they do the thing that often happens in teen years, which is they get pretty jacked off with the parent that they're living with. And they decide, you suck, you're no good, I don't like you because you've told me that I can't go to parties 5 nights of the week and I have to do my homework and this is not tolerable for me. So I've decided you're a bad source of information, you're not healthy, I'm going to go and be with that other parent. And we watch the children go and hang out with this person they've been completely estranged from. Now, that is a nightmare if this person really is dangerous and scary, right? But they've become the taboo, so they've become the great space for the teen rebellion. And now this parent, I can't remember which way I'm gesturing, the other parent has no space there to maintain connection or to track their safety. So when we give as much contact as is safe for that child with the other parent, then we allow them to be in touch with their senses, with what they hear, what they see, what they understand of the parent as their own person, so that they can trust their own judgments about their safety when they hit those teen years, and we're not likely to see that estrangement. So then if we've got this story of my future self was protecting, we really want to look at what is he or she protecting them from, and how do we want to talk about that with the child, because we still also want to be able to protect the child from things that are adult content and things that are not necessary for them to know as they grow up. If that is, for anyone who's listening to us, if that is within your own narrative, I would definitely want you to be getting some help and resourcing and support around that, because trying to step through what is harmful and what is not, particularly when we're looking at that nuance of what settings they are safe in, it's really hard when you are the person who has been on the receiving end of behaviours that were frightening and scary and traumatising for you. And I really want to be clear, I don't want to minimise that. I don't want to be dismissive of that. That has happened. That has been your experience. And there could still be a safe way for your child to have a healthy relationship, as healthy relationship as possible with that other parent.
Whoa. What a brilliant and compassionate and very contextual answer, and I really appreciate that, the acknowledgement of the one co-parent's experience of being hurt and also not having to navigate, because I really understand that it can be tricky to navigate in that, and so needing help from professionals to figure out what would be the safest contact with the other parent. What a beautiful and brilliant answer. Like I'm gonna like, I'll allow forever call you every time I am in an situation that that requires this compassionate and very again very contextual way of looking at this. So just know that you have now become my go-to person, Tiffany. So
that suits me. I like that very much. Well, that's fantastic.
And I will be yours. Like, just know that you can call me and I'll be your shoulder. I have a question from our very own Tony. I wonder if you are seeing an increase in tension and conflict post-COVID. Yes,
we most definitely are, and it's for conceptually for several reasons, all of which Tony actually probably can imagine, because she's fantastic at seeing context and systems. She's an absolute legend in this space. So some of the things that we saw was there was a decrease in separations during COVID, and that's not because relationships necessarily were healthier, but more that it was really scary and frightening. There were lockdowns, so people didn't know if they separated what on earth was going to happen with their children. Things were tied up in legal processes and in family court as well, so the system all slowed down. People were frightened about finances and jobs. So people who may have wanted to leave stayed during that time. Of course, people were home a huge amount more than they were before. So issues that might have been bubbling along okay when somebody was, or both people were out working a lot of the time, or one of the people was out of the home a lot, when two people were then in each other's spaces and the children were there and the pressure of children learning at home and all of those things that happened in that weird space that we were in for those couple of years, then a lot of cracks emerged for people in their relationships that for them felt unrecoverable. And then, of course, we also saw across the world people entirely changing what it was they wanted from life, what they wanted from their career, where they wanted to live. Like it was an absolute worldwide experience of looking at who do I actually want to be and what do I want to stand for in the face of this. And the answer for a lot of people is I want something really different from what I've had. So, yes, we have seen a huge increase in separations, and some data suggests it's like a rebound effect. I'm not across the data well enough to give you I'm not a statistician. I can't give you a professional opinion on that, but definitely we have had an increase.
Wow. It does make sense, doesn't it? Like that was a tough period. There's one more question from the amazing Tony. We talked about a little bit about this, but let's visit that again. And so what if only one person wants to attend co-parenting sessions?
So, yes, look, and I think it is so important that it's worth answering over and over again. Yeah. If you want things to be different, if what is happening with your co-parent is untenable for you, then, oh my gosh, yes, resource yourself. And what I love I love everything that we do, co-parenting companion. It's the advantage of designing your own business. But what I love is the community of co-parents that we're bringing together, so that where you are feeling on your own, within your own dynamic, you are wrapped around with a community of other parents who have a tricky time with their ex and are committed to doing that pathway that you've done, Rikke, to letting their behaviours be defined by who they care to be, by doing the best things for themselves and their children, and acting with kindness and compassion when it's really, really hard. And what we do see with that is we do see changes happening at the other side. We do see mediations dropped. We see agreements to change schools or get psych assessments or what have you reached. We see people starting to go to sporting games and school concerts together. We've seen just so many changes happen because one parent decided that it was worth doing the work.
So it takes one parent to decide that it's worth to do the work. And I think this is so important. And I'm very moved by this. I love that you have seen all of these changes from no contact to maybe again going to a concert or something like that. And I want to remind us that while we cannot control the behavior of others, we can affect it. Like we can control how we behave towards others, which will likely increase or decrease the likelihood of a certain response. But I think that is so important. That, like, I cannot control how my ex-partner responds, but I can control how I invite, how I embrace, how I speak, how I communicate. And I think that is such an important. And what I love is that what you have created, not only do you have a lot of wisdom around this and that you're supporting parents, you've created community.
It matters. It matters so much to me. There has to be about community. We are looking at completely changing the narrative on what it looks like to be a two-home family, to be a family across two homes. Even that is still such a new concept. So, my gosh, because the whole paradigm is shifting. We need I won't say an army, because the army is wrong, because I don't want it to be, but we need a force.
Yes.
So we absolutely have to stand shoulder to shoulder. Everybody who is an ally and everybody who is in this for their own experience with their kids. Yeah.
And I actually love the word army because like force. We need to be a force. We need to stand together. And I think what you have shown us again and again, we are not fighting the other parent. We are all fighting for our children. Like so that is the battle. we are we are joining forces for all of us to show up as the best version of ourselves for the sake of our children. This is not a community of people battling other parents, right? I think that's what you've shown us time and again, that this is a force of showing up for the children, for our children.
And for generational change, right?
Exactly.
I love the reflect. But coming back to Tony's question one more time, the other part, for anyone who's listening to this or watching us and who's thinking, yes, but my co-parent is the world's worst, and it doesn't matter how many breadcrumbs I leave, how many gestures I put out, they're never going to pick that up. Or maybe you have a client who's in that situation, and of course that also happens. And then too, oh my gosh, it is still worth investing in you and your kids in this process, because often what we have is people who are spending 8 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours in angst, figuring out how to write an email. And if we can get that down to 5 minutes, fantastic. It can be the thing that is interfering with your dreams and heavy on your shoulders. And if we can help you with concrete strategies, and I mean, there's so much obviously within the contextual behavioral science world on this, if we can help you with strategies to carry that more lightly so that it doesn't have to infuse every part of your life. If you have a tricky co-parent who is not going to change no matter what you do, then looking at how to make sure your boundaries are really strong and clear, and you can just have them only in the part of your life that is absolutely not undoable, then there is so much more that opens up for you in the rest of your fabulous, gorgeous life.
I love that. And I think it's so important to remind us all that you can leave all of these breadcrumbs and people might never pick them up. But maybe it's the actual action of leaving the breadcrumb in and of itself that is important. Like, it's not whether they pick it up, it's not whether they change. It would be lovely, why? But showing your children, showing your child, and showing the world that you are the person who's willing to keep inviting, to lay out those breadcrumbs, regardless of how much people pick them up, because that is within your power. That is within you, like laying it all out, inviting or being the best version of yourself is within your power. I think that's so important. There's a question from our very own. So every time I look down, it's because I'm now tracking the comments on my phone. So it's not like I'm doing something else, but I just wanted to check because they come up in real time here. We have a question from our very own Francesca. Francesca, she is from Italy and lives in Finland, and she is a great cook, and she is always treating me with chocolate and lovely stuff, which is not the point here.
I think Francesca, I could use a little bit of that in my life.
Yes, like everybody needs this everybody needs a Francesca. So Francesca, just know that we love you. And here's your question. Bit of a weird question. What can you do personally, speaking from experience, if one of the parents is dead and the conflict still arises from time to time? What would you say to that? So the other parent is not alive.
Okay, and the conflict still arises. And so I'm wondering, listening to that question, Francesca, if that is around for the parent raising the children, that the conflict is still present for them, or if the conflict is coming from parts of the extended family.
So I would guess that, so let's say that you lost your ex, that you are the parent, the co-parent, and the other parent is not still here. But let's say you're still having a lot of anger towards that person, or still having a lot of resentment. Is that like, I'm just guessing now. So Francesca, if you are here with us, can you let us know in the comments if we are aiming both?
Yeah, so look, I'll answer.
But so both. Most with the other parent, there's bitterness. There's bitterness from the other parent.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about how hard that is when it's unresolved, when there's all the words that will now never be said and the apologies that will never take place. And along with that, if the children are also grieving somebody for whom there is that bitterness and hurt for the parent. Francesca, I mean, this is a really, really interesting question. I think the part that shows up for me is working with the parents still on helping them understand that line between what sits at that adult level and what sits at the child level. So I often talk with parents about kind of like this invisible boundary that has to exist, where there is information that children don't need to have. There's stories that aren't theirs to be heard, and if you can only tell them through one lens, you will have a bias to it anyway. So particularly unfair if this other person can never give a counter experience. So to really look at what parts of this do my children need to know, and how will I talk about this in a healthy way for them, and then how do I resource myself? Like if I'm not able to show up to that space with my children, or if I have this complex emotion still showing up, how am I going to care for and resource myself? And I think there are, a couple of avenues there. One is obviously still a co-parenting coach could still help you with that. It's something I'd also really think I'd really want for this person to gift themselves a beautiful therapist, because it is complex. There are so many parts in that. And I kind of want to say a therapist with a really beautiful spiritual connection, to be able to look at this from the connection to the more, the connection to the greater than us, to look at how resolution can be reached for that parent. But Francesca, I've never been asked that question before, so that was a great one to have, and that was me just spewing out of my mouth.
Wow, it is a great question, and I think it's I've never heard that before as well, and I've had it in other contexts where I think that, like, talking about forgiveness, not for this, like, not for the, like, regardless of the person who you are forgiving is alive or not. But letting go of resentment, not for their sake, but for your own sake. And so I really love what you're saying about like having a compassionate, loving, kind and spiritual therapist to help you navigate in that space. It sounds very, very wise. I just want to tell you that we have Henne watching with us right now. I saw that. And we have Tamar, our very own Tamar, saying it's so wonderful to listen to you both. Like, we're surrounded by very lovely people, aren't we, Tiffany? See here, Fleming is watching as well. So we're surrounded by amazing people. And I want to start closing up the bar here. We've had now 2 amazing chats, and it feels like, this was just want to come back to what we have Francesca saying. That was a lovely answer. Still working on them, trying for therapy. Maybe a battle that I will never win, and I keep trying. Oh yeah. So I mean, I'm guessing that, inviting somebody else to go into therapy. This is a tricky one as well, right? When you feel like somebody, this might be that you're the child of a parent who is in resentment, and you see that maybe one of your parents need that therapy. I can see why that can be tricky. All right.
Look, and I think if I could just put one other part in there for Francesca, sure. Is one of the things that I often, because I get, and I'm sure you get asked this question too, Ricky, I get asked that question a lot in terms of, Tiff, I think somebody could get value from your stuff, but I send them to the reset page and or your coaching page, and they haven't done anything with it. And I'm thinking, well, it's a lot to say, here's somebody that you've never met, go and spend some money with them and trust them. So certainly one of the things I love about these opportunities is the chance for people to have a look, have an examine, suss it out. And so on our website, I have a whole heap of free resources and podcasts that are also targeted towards the people who are experiencing the issues, not just the therapists who make space for them in their rooms. And part of that is so that as much free stuff can be out there as possible, but also so there's this space for them to just hear it while they're putting on their makeup or driving their car or making dinner, when it's not about them, when they're not committing to a therapy process. But that in the same way that you kept dropping those breadcrumbs for your ex, that it's a way of them just slowly moving towards being ready to see that this could be something that could be useful for them.
I really love that answer, and I think that what you're saying, something that I realize is so important, that sometimes we say, like, you should go have therapy. Like, that's maybe not what we said, but in a sense that's what we're communicating. You should go and have therapy, which can be very confronting, right? And it can be a big commitment, but you can actually go. What we can also say is that, like, you should listen to this person. Like, what we could send people your way, and they could listen to you in podcasts. They could look into your resources, and then make that choice. But I think it's a very beautiful move to say, like, listen what this person has to say, as a way of maybe start to think about going into therapy. From a marketing perspective, right? This is what we do all the time. We don't expect people to come into our business and buy the most expensive stuff. We do a lot of stuff so that people get used to us, and that people make a choice. Is this a person I want to work with or not? So really, like, below this video, I'm going to put again links to Tiffany's website, and as there's a lot of free resources, and you're very generous with your knowledge, you're very generous with your time, and you're a very generous person, and I hope people see that and appreciate that. And so just know that Tiffany is out there, and I know that you're like welcoming everybody, and so passionate about creating a community and changing the world. Speaking of that, did I see you with some kind of, did something happen recently where you were nominated for something, and
Yes, I was.
What happened? We want to know that.
It was such a surprise to me, Ricky. An email arrived in my inbox telling me that I'd been nominated in the Women Changing the World Awards, and the next thing I did was spent half an hour checking whether or not it was a scam. Turns out it wasn't a scam. And then I was named as a finalist in 2 categories, and then I was awarded silver for the Women Changing the World in Personal Services. And it was announced in an award ceremony in London, but I watched it over live stream because I don't have the kind of business that has funds to just pop over to London. I wish so. I would have also popped across to see you while I was there, Ricky. But yeah, it was quite a humbling experience, and it still blows me away. It's really special.
I am in tears. Like, I am so proud of you. You were. So regardless of, like, I know you won silver, like, but regardless of the outcome, you were nominated as the recipient of an award for Women Changing the World. Can we like we should have like a 1 minute of silence to just so wherever, like, people who are watching this, I hope, like, imagine that you are in the bar with us now, and glitter comes from the roof, and there's like firework, and we're like, I want to open this, I want to jump in the bar, open champagne and spray it. Like, I am so proud of that. It really touches my heart to see somebody like you to be nominated, like, Women Changing the World, like this. I am kind of in loss of words because I'm crying at the same time. Just know that I'm so incredibly proud of you, and I hope that every person out there who sees you right now knows that you were nominated and you won silver. You are one of the women changing the world. What's it like to hear that? Like, can you are you able to receive that?
It leaves me, honestly, it leaves me a little speechless, because I'm here face to face with a woman that I see changing the world. With one of the heroes and mentors that I see doing incredible stuff in the world. So it was a beautiful moment where, it was truly beautiful to be seen and acknowledged, both then and right now, for that part that I'm doing. But holy goodness me, it's because so many strong, gorgeous, beautiful women like yourself and within our community, like Louise Hayes, Robin
Yeah.
Walzer, Emily Sandoz, Tony Hanna and Tamar Black, who are here. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So many strong, fabulous women who are changing the world. And every one of them deserves a glitter ball
Yeah.
sparkling over them. Definitely you, my gorgeous Ricky.
Oh, like I am bubbling with pride and a sense of a great community. As you're saying, we are surrounded by people who have like such, we are surrounded by powerhouses, and for every person, like regardless of gender identification, for every person watching this, you have the power to change the world. Like you have the power to, we might not change the entire world in one day, but we can change something every day, or we can contribute to the world. Every little breadcrumb you leave in this world is significant. Somebody will pick it up. That's really what I believe. And I hope that people are as inspired by you as I am right now, and proud for you. Like I'm so happy for you, and I'm so happy with you, and I'm bubbling with pride. It
Oh,
is
you're the most
time.
gorgeous.
It is time, Tiffany, to close down the bar. I would want to stay here with you forever. And so for everybody's watching, just know that we appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for all your generousness in your time, your wisdom, your resources, and for the big change that you are making in this world. It's just like, it's remarkable. And I'll put the links below the video so that you can always reach out to Tiffany. And if you're inside of this group, know that Tiffany's in here as well. If you put something in the make sure to put hearts, questions, stuff in the comment. We may not be able to answer everything but make sure to tag any of Tiffany or me if you have a question for us. But make sure to spread the love, send love letters, send support. That is how we rise, by supporting each other. That's how we thrive, by giving and receiving support. So make sure to do that. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here, for being a part of my life. And I wish you all well. Bye guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.